Hello, my name is Michael Finney. Welcome back to the program. Today we have Jen Haire, author of Keys to the Production Office with Gilana Lobel. We're going to talk with her a little bit today about her career and the process she went through to create the book. Do you want to say hello and introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. Jen here. Thanks for having me a part of this. I'm a 20-plus year veteran of the film and television industry. I'm a DGA production manager and line producer.
Fantastic. So will you tell us a little bit about the beginning of your career and how you got into it, which I think is a good background in regards to laying the groundwork for us to get into the book?
Sure. Depends on how far back you want to go, but I guess I could go with... I'm an alum of the University of North Carolina School of the Arts, and my third year in that program, they had they encourage internships while you're in school, and we were in North Carolina, and the Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood came to Wilmington, and I ended up with an internship for the entire run of that show. I started in the office and then moved over to the set when they began principal photography. So that was kind of my first real taste of a professional operation. I mean, that was at the time, I don't know, maybe it was a Warner Brothers. I want to say it was like $25 million movie, but, giant for then, 2001 or whenever it was. And so that was my first eye-opening experience to that, and kind of opened my eyes to how a professional production office runs, how a professional set runs, because, before then it's school stuff, it's, your own stuff and everything. So that kind of laid the foundation of my office experience with that team there. And then after I graduated, moved out to Los Angeles because that's where I thought the work was, and got my first job on a reality TV show that was up and coming called The Bachelor. And I did a couple seasons of that show, and worked my way up through a variety of positions, a variety of different types of content, from competition shows such as like the World Poker Tour, where I was doing everything from working as an executive assistant to production coordinating. I worked on documentary coordinating. So I kind of worked my way up through the office route. And then from, I did documentaries, I did scripted features, I did television. And so I landed on The Closer through a contact I had met while I was in School of the Arts. A gentleman by the name of Andy Sachs produced a short film while I was at school called Two Soldiers. That short film went on to win the 2004 Academy Award for short narrative, or live action narrative, I guess. And so I was able to join on The Closer, and that's really where the major learning curve hit, because yes, I had learned office operations and understood basic production, but TV is such a different beast. Episodic TV is such a different beast, especially, the scripted version, because I'd only done the nonfiction before. And so I was on that for 7 years, the entire run of the show. During hiatuses, I would go off and production manage other projects and stuff. But it was really the grind of learning that, you're doing anywhere from, we started with 15 episodes, like I think season 1, 13 or 15 episodes season 1. And by season 7, we were doing 21 episodes. And so that's a very long haul. And you're always prepping, you're always filming, and you're always wrapping. And it's 100% cyclical. And you're just doing the same thing over and over. A variety of challenges come within each episode, but for the most part, it's the same. And so it really allows you to hone in on the process, what works, what doesn't. And so that's what I did a lot, is I would try to always improve upon, okay, well, we're still here, we're doing this again. How can I make things better? And that was kind of started the little bit of the genesis of the book, Keys to the Production Office, because, and sorry, I'm getting so long-winded on this, but I promise I'll circle back around, is
you're all good.
It was a great operation where, because I think our schedule, we would be something like April to I guess October or so as far as our season. So we would get a lot of summer interns. Either we would have PA turnover from season to season, or they would, advance in their careers and go somewhere else. But we'd have a lot of interns, and Warner Brothers and Shepherd Robin, the production company, they were very keen on making sure we were bringing new people in and teaching people and giving people an opportunity. And so what would happen is, as part of my job as the production coordinator, I was always responsible for training these kids up. A lot of times this is their very first experience in any kind of professional, either work environment or film and television environment. And so I started developing kind of just I called it a little PA binder, and I would have a breakdown on exactly production basics, and then what I expected of them, what the job was, how to do it. And then I would sit down with them for probably 30 minutes at the start of when they first joined us. And I would give them that overview so that they weren't going in blind and they weren't floundering. And they were actually useful to me as I ran the production office, because now they had some direction and they knew where their place was in the grand scheme of everything. So, and then from there, they talked to the other department, the other PAs, and learn on the job and such like that. But we really wanted to give them the most experience we could working in our office. And I don't know if that's necessarily always the case now. I think now with the internship rules, well, we might have been paying them. Honestly, I don't remember. We were probably paying them. So then it was not replacing somebody that I would have hired in that instance. I think that's the internship caveat now. So
on the closer, was that really kind of like the project that everything crystallized for you and made you realize that this was something that you really wanted to stick with for, your entire career, be in the production office and working in that space?
It was kind of the opposite. From that experience, it made me reconfirm that I definitely do not want to be working in an office. And I absolutely hate the job, unfortunately, but it is a stepping stone. And I definitely learned a lot doing it. So I think it is a very important stepping stone. But I always wanted to production manage, and that's what I do now. So,
okay.
Production management, line produce. So it was just a part of that process, right? To get to production management, there's a variety of different routes. The DGA will advocate for you to go through their program, or being an AD and working your way up that way. I have my opinions on whether or not that's actually a method that's effective in producing solid UPMs. There's other folks that can go through the locations department or accounting, but my path, I deliberately made the decision to not go through the set route. Through my set experiences, it just wasn't for me. It wasn't where I wanted to camp out for however long it needed to be for me to get my days and work my way up. So, but because of my experience on the closer and various pilots we would do on our hiatuses and everything, it allowed me to, in a way, become an expert in the job of assistant coordinating like every job in the production office. I never asked anybody to ever do anything that I haven't ever done myself. And so,
that's important,
that
right?
To me is very important. Yeah, it's very important to know what you're asking somebody to do, because they're gonna ask, why you have me do this way? Why are you having me do it this way? And while I'm not saying that there's not better ways to improve upon things, but I'll tell you, I've done a lot of things the wrong way. And if I need something done and I need it done the most efficient way, I'm going to tell you exactly how it needs to be done. And if you have a way to improve upon that, you do it my way first, and then come to me later and say, maybe next time can we try this? And I'll probably be open to it, because I always want to improve on stuff. But
sure.
Again, going back to the TV aspect of it, it's just because it's so cyclical, it gets really redundant. And so I found that after a while, you're not challenged. It's a lot of the same. And so for people with, families and want stability, it's a perfect job. It's very long running. You could be on a show for 6 months to a year, depending on how many episodes are being filmed. And a lot of times, if you're local, if we're in Los Angeles or whatnot, wherever it's filming and your family's there, it's it's a very solid, stable job. But that wasn't my situation. And so that wasn't something that I was comfortable staying in. I always knew I wanted to advance. So I eventually had to just break ties and step away at the end of the closer. I didn't pursue a relationship with that company or any of the spinoffs after that, and went ahead and just had to rebrand myself as a production manager and start taking those jobs or opportunities that offered me a challenge. I did a game show, I think, after that, and I did a couple other features, out of state, because I love working on location, and those offer their own challenges. So, I take opportunities where I can learn, and if I start to stagnate somewhere, then it's no longer fun.
It's really interesting how you kind of cobble together a career out of rolling with the punches of things. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I never had anyone that kind of took me under their wing and kept me going. I love that. I have friends that have happened to, and for good or for worse, right. I didn't have that opportunity, and so I have had to just keep hustling quite a bit to prove myself every time. I didn't have that person who's like, oh, well, I already know you, and yes, you're coming with me on every project.
Right.
It didn't happen that way for me.
So let's talk a little bit about how the kernel of Keys to the Production Office got started. Where did this all begin when the project began to formulate?
My co-author, Gilana, so we went to college together, and she kind of had the similar experience as I did. She was working in television in New York. And same thing, where unbeknownst to each of us at the time, she was having to do a lot of the same things, where she's getting new PAs, she's getting a lot of interns, and nobody has time to retrain PAs all day long. So she had built a little bit of her own PA binder, but she took it a step further and I think she said it the other day, where she was, in one weekend, she literally wrote a small handbook and self-published it and said, okay, here, I'm giving this to everyone who works in my office. And it had a lot of the foundational stuff that we have in Keys to the Production Office, where she's like, look, this is the job. This is what I expect you to do. This is exactly how to do it. And she was pushing it for a while, advertising and stuff. And I thought, man, that's brilliant. That's exactly what I want to do. I never took that next step, right? I was always busy, or there was always an excuse, but I certainly had a collection of everything that I would ever teach a PA or someone working in the office, cobbled together. And so finally, I think it was maybe October, maybe 2018, where we finally said, you know what? There's more to this, and we can really flesh this out more. Do we want to go ahead and collaborate and make this a truly amazing handbook that can exist in the world? Because there's nothing like this. There's nothing that teaches you about the production office. There's nothing that teaches you that is dedicated to the role of an office PA. So in fall of 2019, we sat down. We were in a hotel in New York, and we set out. We put together a whole outline, and then probably the fall of 2018. And then we put together this whole outline. We're like, yeah, we're going to do this. We're going to make it happen. Somehow 2019 passed us by, and we just were busy. We didn't get to it. And then all of a sudden it was COVID, and none of us were working. The industry was
You're like, we got a lot of time. What's up with that book project?
Yeah. And so literally April Fool's Day, 2020, we started diving in and basically wrote every week, and we had to call every week. And almost exactly 2 years from that date, from when we first started writing, is when the book came out. So
that's fantastic. Yeah, that's just from having scanned through the book at the event last week and everything where we met. The book is so information dense. There really is it is packed with infographics and just little notes and things like that, scattered throughout the chapters and stuff like that. I know obviously like that doesn't necessarily translate over audio, but it seems like you guys left no stone unturned in terms of just getting every single word onto those pages. They are very information dense just from having scanned through. And I don't know your industry, particularly, or the role specifically either, but like, I mean, how many pages is the book? 2 something?
Yeah, I think it's like 257. And I think that includes like the appendix pages. And I mean, truly, it is written to be an on-the-job handbook.
Right. And it's not like a trade paperback size. It's a bigger size too. It's like a square size book. So this is, it's sizable. It is a compendium. It feels like.
Yes, I think it's 7 by 9. I think that's what we wanted. We wanted it. We didn't want it too giant where you couldn't easily carry it around, but we didn't want it super tiny where now you're carrying this thick book around. So.
Yeah, well, you guys did a great job with it that way. Tell me about the design and layout and stuff like that.
Sure.
If you had anything to do with that, or I don't know how it went for you in terms of the publishing process.
Publishing process, let me tell you, that's a beast of a process that wasn't at all what we expected. But we did get lucky with our first choice publisher, Routledge, Focal Press, Taylor and Francis. They're all part of the same conglomerate now, but they produce. They're the largest producer of this type of book, of like a how-to film job book. Mm-hmm. Every type of film job that you could ever want, it's 99% of the time they've published it. So they were our go-to because we fit in their library perfectly. This is like the one missing job. As far as the layout and such, we hired an illustrator, a gal out of Chicago. She's fantastic, Samantha Osborne. And one of the big things we wanted to make sure that would set this particular book apart is the fact that we had these unique visuals, right? Mm-hmm. Because there's any other book that's at all similar out there as far as it covers, production assistant content or basic production operations content. It's very text-based. But we wanted to make sure that there were compatible visuals with how we were describing the production process. And, one of our favorite ones is this giant Escher, callback to Escher image where it's tons of staircases and how you can start at being an office PA and literally transition and follow your career to any path you want to go. And that took us quite a while to kind of
flesh out. Yeah, I can imagine. It was a good diagram. I liked it a lot. Yeah.
Good. Yeah, we're very proud of it. And we have another one talking about like the cyclical nature of feature films of episodic TV versus feature films. And we've used the solar system and we've shown it in terms of like planets and stars. And we love all of our graphics. So those are a couple too that come to mind. And so she drafted quite a few of those that we just didn't have the creative scope to be able to do. And then there's a lot of forms, there's a lot of tables and such that we put together. We've built our own call sheets and we have tons of Easter eggs throughout the book. I mean, if you really sat down and combed through it, the amount of Fighting Pickle references, because that's our college mascot, that are in there, the amount of friends names that we have tossed in there in various ways, shape, or form. There's just an amount of Star Wars references because Gilana is a huge Star Wars fan. So our birthdays are in there, like all kinds of silly stuff. So we have that throughout. But we really wanted to make sure that we did have solid visuals that accompanied the content so that it wasn't just dry reading, that you actually had something that showed you in a diagram, okay, this, because not everyone understands content the same. You can either read it, you can hear it, or you need a visual.
Absolutely.
And we wanted to make sure we had something for everybody there.
So let me ask you this.
And as far as the cover, yeah, go ahead.
Oh, well, no, go ahead and finish up about the cover, and then I'll ask you the follow-up.
Oh, just the cover, that is one of the things that the publisher did do is they came up with some cover designs, and this was the best of the ones they offered. And actually, after a few reworkings of this same image, I'm very pleased with it. I like the cover. I think we settled on a good cover for it. So,
what comes next for this project? Are there other things that you intend to do with the content or the message?
Absolutely. Right now we're kind of grassrootsing, trying to get the word out about the book itself, because it is such a vital resource for those starting out in the industry. I'm sorry?
I said, welcome to the podcast.
Yeah, no, yeah, exactly. But we're in the middle of developing a workshop to go along with the content of the book. So it'll be a dedicated Office CA workshop. And the idea is to hit up incentive states where, hopefully productions are going to, and we're working with a couple film commissions right now who are interested in it. We definitely want to align with some trade schools, film schools, whatever, schools that already have basic content content production classes in place, where we can either maybe come in as a guest speaker or, do a weekend workshop for them. But it's just such a good launching point for someone's next phase, transitioning from college into the real world. Honestly, it's a book I wish I had in high school, because we literally hold nothing back. We tell you exactly what you're going to be doing if you take as an entry level job going into the industry. This is what it's going to be. So even if you choose not to go to college, you could read this and 100% get a job. But this is what it is, and take it or leave it, because
you're going to know
not everything is. Yeah, not everything is glitz and glamour. And so it wouldn't have been something that deterred me, but it definitely would have been something that opened my eyes as far as, oh, this is what my day-to-day is going to be? Okay. All right. Mentally preparing for that. Okay.
Yeah, it's hard to tell from the outside, right?
Yeah. Yeah. Because like in high school, and when I was in high school, it was all glitz and glamour. You didn't have everybody as a content creator, and it was still kind of a special, unique niche of an industry, of a job, and everybody wants to be a director. Well, thank God I got that out of my head, because I'm a horrible storyteller and I hate directing. So good for me for not going into directing. It would have been painful for everybody.
Well, you know that now, right?
I do.
Well, hey, are there any last thoughts or points that you don't feel you expressed that you want to get across in regards to the project or your career or anything like that?
I mean, I definitely encourage anyone who's even remotely interested in getting involved in the industry, even if you don't live in a major production hub. You could, really, wherever you live, we talk about that in the book. It's like there's ways to find and build a career in the industry, no matter where you are, and how to pursue that. We talk about the geography of where the job is, where you may or may not need to be, and how much work are you willing to put in to pursue this career.
Right.
And then chapter 10 talks about ways that you can find these resources and opportunities wherever you live. The idea is we want to make the industry accessible to those that haven't always had the access to it, right? Who can't necessarily go to film school, who don't have all the contacts already. And we're really trying to help that next generation get in the door, because we went through it and we know what it was like. And it is tricky and it is daunting to figure out how to get in when you don't think you know anybody. And this is what we're trying to break down. And we want you to be successful while you're doing it. And this will absolutely kickstart any career for you. So,
well, I think that's really great. And thank you for putting the project together and helping people learn about what it means to work in the production office and what their career might be like if they chose to go into that, or how to advance their career into the other aspects of the industry. Jen, thank you for joining me today. I appreciate your time.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.